What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the third episode of the Limitless Podcast, where we talk about life stories, limitless life stories. You might learn from it, you might not learn from it, but there is no limit on sharing this story. If you've seen episode 2, it means that you're ready for part 2 of my story, which how I got from Syria to Holland. And if you haven't watched the story, it's the second story. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put it on the link in the description. Before I start with the story, I just want to give a really special shout out to 3 people that have been helping me, that have been giving me tips, that have been motivating me for this podcast. Because starting a podcast is very difficult, and especially I got like 95 of the people telling me to stop doing this, what I'm doing right now, because it's never gonna give a result, because putting a podcast is so difficult. So these 3 people have been supporting me, giving me comments, giving me likes, sending me a special messages about what to talk about, and just been supporting me. I just want to give a shout out to Lars. I want to thank you. I want to thank Selena. Thank you so much. And I also want to thank Adrian. He's always been commenting on my YouTube videos. And as I promised, if I ever gonna get famous and I get rich, I'll share my money with you. Just a couple, just maybe 20. Okay, maybe 10%, 5%. We'll see if I ever get rich. So let me start with the second part of my story. As many of you know who watched the second episode, where I told you about one of the worst moments that I had on the trip, which was on the border of Croatia and Serbia, where this bus driver at 2 a.m. Dropped us in an abandoned village and told us you have to walk. And there I experienced one of the most tragic moments of my life. And the reason that I laugh is just because it's in the past. It doesn't matter anymore. And you only get it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I use laughter to cope with my, difficult experiences. So anyway, I was walking through this village with the people that I was on the bus, like around 50 people or something. And we were walking and everything was going great, We're just looking to get through to the next country. And everything was going great until we heard some extra steps. Like someone is following us. And then I looked back and I didn't see anyone. But it was too dark. You couldn't see anything. But I didn't see anything strange. So anyway, we kept walking and suddenly we hear like a car moving, which is strange because nobody had a car. So I looked back and I saw nothing. I saw no lights, just nothing. Just like darkness. And after like 2 minutes, we heard a door opening, like a car door just opening and being closed. And I thought, definitely there's somebody following us. This is not good. And after like 2 minutes, eventually I start hearing screaming from the back. I was at the first guy who's walking in front of the group. And I looked back and I started hearing screaming. People were screaming and asking for help. And I try to see what's happening, and it appears to be that there's a couple of people holding weapons are trying to kidnap us. And at that moment, I had like 3 seconds to make a decision. Stay and help the group, or run. 2 options. And I had like 3 seconds to decide. I choose for the second option. I choose to run and to escape. Because this is not a movie where you can play the hero. This is real life. So I made the second decision and I ran. I just ran, start running just running forward for like 10 minutes. Just running and not looking back. Eventually, after running, I saw like a Red Cross logo. And I thought, oh, that's the Red Cross. I will go and ask for help. So I ran there, out of breath. I couldn't even breathe after running for 10 minutes. And I told them what happened. I said, hey, there was a group of guys who were trying to kidnap us. And I think, and I looked back and it was only 5 people with me out of the 50 people who were on the bus. And they said, yeah, we know about the situation. It happens every day. I was like, what? You know, and you don't, and you're not doing anything? And they said, we cannot do anything because it's a dangerous mafia. And what they usually do is they have weapons and they start kidnapping people at night and try to sell their organs on the black market. Like literally selling hearts and kidneys and lungs on the black market. It's a lot of emotions went through my head at that point. Like, I should have helped them. I should have stayed. No, I should have run. Oh my God. I mean, I'm still alive, but I didn't help. A lot of emotion were going through my head. But the one thing that was clear is I was happy to be alive. And I just started thinking, if I stayed, maybe they will kidnap me and then they will open me up and they'll sell my organs, which is it. And I had only like 3 seconds to decide to run or to stay. And just like a normal intuition, I had it, and it was just like, no, just run. And that's what I did. And probably if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be sitting here 5 years later and talking to you and telling you about it. I don't know what happened to the other 45 people. I don't know if they survived. I don't know if they died. I don't know if they're still alive, to be honest. I never heard anything from that moment on. So anyway, I continued my way and I got to Croatia, and then they had a shelter for us to stay there and just to drink something and eat something. And it was not the best. I mean, it was not a 5-star hotel, but I was grateful to have a place to rest and just to drink something and to eat something. And nobody tried to steal our organs, so that's always good. That's always a relief. So after Croatia, I took a train to Austria. And then a train from Austria, I took it to Germany, which there I decided to stay. I decided to stay in Germany, you know, and continue my life. And you would say, yeah, but Bashar, you're living in Holland, so something happened. You're right, something did happen, which was not the best thing. I decided to go to Holland instead of Germany. Let me explain why. So I was at the shelter in Germany, and then suddenly someone came in. It was like a guy, a military. He had the German uniform. He was obviously one of the military. He was like 2 feet. This guy was like 2 meters tall, like 6'5" something. This guy was so tall and big, and he just came in and started screaming and yelling at all of us. And he said, "Listen, everybody, you cannot leave this shelter. We're gonna give you a paper to sign, and these papers say that you should stay in Germany and you cannot leave Germany." Now, I don't know why they want to make us sign those papers. I don't know nothing, but I didn't like how he talked to us. And nobody stood up to him. Nobody said anything. So I was like, you cannot talk to me like that. So I stood up, which is like, he was like that, and I was like here. And I said, look, I appreciate what you are doing to us. You're making us stay here to rest and taking care of us, but just because you're in the military, that doesn't give you a right to yell at me. And he started threatening me, and he said, sign these papers and blah blah blah. I said, look, I don't like your tone. Look, I appreciate you're in the army and I respect you, but that doesn't give you the right to yell at me. And then he said, well, I'm gonna give you 10 minutes to sign these papers. I'm gonna go, and when I come back, I want to see them signed. So I laughed and I said, Okay, I'll sign them. So he left, and 2 minutes later, I escaped. Um, uh, because I'm not gonna stay in a country where I feel threatened. And I'm not saying that Germany is bad. I'm just saying the way that guy treated me gave me the wrong impression of Germany. So I decided to leave because I was very emotional, you know, especially at that moment, because I had like, I've made it through like hell to get hit there, and my emotions were all over the place, and I was just angry. I was very mad, and I said, "F it! If you're gonna threaten me, I'm gonna leave." So I left, and I took a train to. I bought a ticket to train to Holland. And on the way to the station, two cops started looking at me from far away, like from 20 meters. And then I saw them looking at me, and they continuously looking at me while I'm going to the train station. And I said, if I kept cool and I didn't say anything and I didn't look back, they will not do anything. So I walked, and like I tried to blend in, but as a brown guy, you cannot like blend in and trying to act German. you're not German. Come on, like you're a brown guy. Come on. And also my clothes were really shitty. Like I was not in a good condition. Like everything about me says refugee, especially my hair at that time. It was terrible. And so anyway, they said something in German, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't speak German. And I said, where are you from? And then I said, I'm from Syria. And they said, do you live here? Show us your paper. And I said, no, I don't live here. I'm a refugee. And then they said, well, show us your ID, show us your passport. And I said, I don't have any, which is half true because I lost my passport, but I still had my ID, but I didn't want to show it to them. And I said, I don't have any. And they said, which asylum or which center were you in? You know, where that German military started yelling at me. And I said this name, which I don't remember anymore. And they said, okay, did you sign the paper? I said, yes. And I said, okay, but if you go to Holland and they see that you signed in Germany, they will not let you stay there. We'll send you back to Germany. I said, it's okay. I wanna take my chances. See, the reason I lied is because if I said I didn't sign the paper, they're gonna grab me and send me back. So I lied to them so they can think that I signed the paper, so they can let me go, because they were so assured that Holland will send me back. That was the only way. So I did that, and I said, okay. They told me, go ahead, leave, but they will send you back. And I said, it's okay, I'll take my chances. And that was the last obstacle I had to make to finally arrive to the Netherlands. I was so happy and so grateful to finally taste the feeling of freedom. I finally made it after 22 days of suffering. I had 22 days of no sleeping and this going through the sea and the Greek military trying to shoot at me, and Serbian mafia trying to rob my heart and lungs. 22 days of suffering. I finally made it to a country where I can just feel safe and trying to move on. You know, from that moment on, I thought, okay, it's everything's gonna be okay. I made it. It's all gonna be rainbows and sunshine. Well, unfortunately for me, it's not. It's when at that moment, my life just went like downhill. I had one of the worst days of my life in Holland, where I had to stay in an asylum center, which was the worst ever, the worst experience, one of the worst experience of my life, where you just been locked up, you cannot go anywhere. Most of the centers you can leave, but you have to come back because you need to sign every day, and it was just terrible. The condition was terrible, but that's another story for another day. I'm super grateful that I finally made it, that I didn't die. And I get questions a lot about how did you survive? How you're just 19. How did you survive those 22 days like without no one? And I get that questions a lot. And sometimes I look back and I wonder, how the hell did I did it? It has a lot of reasons, but mainly there's only one reason. It's fear. We all have fears. Like, you're afraid of the dark, you're afraid of heights, you're afraid of this, afraid of that. And you also have the fear of death. Well, I didn't have that. I didn't have it. Why? Because in Syria, if I stayed there, I'm dead. 100%. There is no other option. So if I had to choose between death and death, the result is the same. If I go on this journey, I might die. If I stayed in Syria, I'm dead. And when you get to the point of not being scared of death, there is nothing left to be afraid of. If you get to the point when you say, there's nothing worse than dying, nothing out there can scare you, then you're fearless. You're just going there. And I know it sounds like a movie and it sounds crazy, but I wasn't afraid, because I know if I stayed in Syria, I'm gonna die. So when you get to the point of not being scared of death, there is nothing can stop you. And we all have this moment of life where we decide we're gonna do something, and you're gonna do it. There's no other option. Like, I only had one plan. I didn't have a plan B, because I always say plan B is a distraction from plan A. I just have one plan. I go through it. It's gonna happen, period. It's over. And if I die, fine. Then I'm gonna die knowing that I tried, because I will accept that any time of the day than living with fear. Thank you so much. That was my third episode of the Limitless Podcast. If you haven't fallen asleep already, thank you so much. If you're giving me all the support, likes and comments and following, thank you so much for being with me on this amazing journey. I wish you the best, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
Neighborhood on the scene, neighborhood on the strip, neighborhood be the name, neighborhood no crib, neighborhood that's me, neighborhood that's Nick, neighborhood do the dance, neighborhood do the dip. Okay, thought I'd never make it, like no way, I'm the real deal, no role play, my days off, that's no days, no I hustle hard, young rose, E be the shooter, that's cold case, those on the deals, that's brose, got no pay, yo, no say, okay, this the news, tell them read it, been the one since